Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Straight Up Christian Podcast. I'm your host, Blair, and I'm so excited to be here with you all today. I cannot wait for you to listen to this podcast episode. There is so much wisdom and knowledge to be heard from my sweet friend, Kaleigh, and I cannot wait for you to hear everything that she has to say. So let's jump right in. Okay, y'all, I'm here with my sweet best friend, Kaleigh Rakoski. And I've asked her to come onto the podcast today to talk to us a little bit about some... sorry. She cracks me up.
Come on, Blair.
Anyways, some of the hard parts about college, but this is also going to be able to apply to you if you're in high school too, and maybe even if you are out of college. So I've asked her to tell us a little bit about herself, so go ahead.
Okay, yes, like she said, my name is Kaleigh. I'm 19 years old, and me and Blair both attend Highlands College. I'm from Fairhope, Alabama, so that's the very bottom of Alabama, down by Mobile and the beach, but I claim the beach, I don't claim Mobile. And my major is the family major, so kids and just that sort of thing, so yeah.
Yep, she's the best.
I like to think so too.
And we will probably be laughing a lot on this podcast.
Most definitely.
So hopefully we aren't having the volume up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. But anyways, I also asked her to tell a little story about how we met. Because here's the thing, like even with Stacy and her podcast that she was in, I was like, I don't even remember how we met. And same with Kaleigh, like I don't remember how we met either. So I'll just let you tell your story.
Okay. So this is a whole story. So it was welcome week. We were absolutely like stressed out to nobody's end. Like
Yes.
Our brain was on overdrive right now. And they were like, okay, at 3 p.m. you have to sign up for sports. And which is a really big deal because you don't want to get with a sport that you don't want to do. Like me and Blair are not really football girls, so we didn't want to be stuck in football. So I was, walking back to the dorm, knew nobody at this point, okay? Knew absolutely nobody. The only person I knew was our friend Shay. And so I was walking back to my room, and then I saw Shay sitting down. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you about to sign up for sports? Because, I'm freaking out right now. They're making it this big, huge thing that, every sport is going to be filled up within the first 30 seconds. I was freaking out, college freshmen. We just didn't know what we were doing. So of course, Shay, she's so sweet. She was like, yes, of course, come on. So then I grab my book bag, and I go and sit down on the couch next to her. And then all of a sudden, this girl walks in. And she's got on her Highlands College t-shirt, some black leggings, I remember this so vividly, her brown slippers and crusty things, and she had her hair in a bun, and she had on this big pink
I do not
headband.
believe that I was wearing that.
I did, because I looked at her and was like, what is this Hot Mess Express walking up in here right now? I was like, okay, whatever, I guess, to each their own. So she comes in with her big old headband on, the kind that you do for skincare. She had that on. So she comes in and sits right next to me. And then she pulls out this giant Ziploc bag of Cheetos. And I just look over, and this is her. And I was like, what world am I living in right now? I was like, I am not about to be friends with this girl. That's just the truth. You can love people, but you don't got to be friends with everybody. And she was one of them. And now, literally, we're, the best of friends ever. But that was my very first memory of Blair. And then from then, I was just like, okay, well, these are my only friends, so I'm going to stick with them. Because we had revival nights.
Yes.
So I saw with them and sat with them on the bus. And then just from there, our friendship has just grown, and now we are actually friends. I don't think you're just, yeah.
Okay. To clear the air, it wasn't the orange Cheetos. It it was the good, like, Puffs white cheddar ones. Those are the best.
They
So
are
it
really
wasn't
good.
like I was eating orange Cheetos.
She wasn't being a hot Cheeto girl.
I do not think I wore that pink headband. I really think she's lying.
I vividly remember because I was wondering why in the world she had on a pink headband.
But Kaleigh said, okay, no, I said this. We were talking about first impressions. I don't even remember when. And you told me that kinda. And then I said that when I first met her, I thought she was annoying.
Because, listen, y'all.
But, no. Hold on. Because, literally, it was only because when I met you in the den, I was like, okay, cool. Like, she's a girl in our hall. And then she stuck to us like glue. And I was like, what the heck? So, really, I didn't think she was annoying. I just thought it was a little bit strange. That out of nowhere, like, this girl was hanging out with us. But I was like, whatever. And then once we hung out more, now we're best friends.
I know. We are best friends.
Forever.
Inseparable. Yeah, because I was stressed that I had no friends. So I was like, well, they signed up for sports with me. They're my friends now.
But what I put in my notes is, like, you always become best friends with the person you had the worst, like, first impression of.
Yes.
And, like, I never would have guessed that me and Kaleigh would be, like, as close as we are today.
Trust me, me too. Me too.
But we are because we're, like, the same person.
Yeah, we are.
But anyways, hopefully we got all the giggles out. Probably not. But, so like I said earlier, today we're just going to be talking about some of the challenges that come along with college and how to get through those. And then also, it obviously is geared more towards college students because that's just the season of life that we're in right now. But I honestly think that you will be able to apply this in any season that you're walking through. So I definitely would just still listen, even if you're not in college, to see if you can take away anything and apply it to your life. So yeah, let's jump right in. Okay, y'all, I'm really excited for this topic because we have been going through a lot these past few weeks.
Going through it.
With just all sorts of things. So the first question that I have for Kaleigh is, what are some of the hardest parts of college life?
Yeah. So, as an incoming freshman, both of us, I can say, everybody knows this, but being away from your family. You know, like, when you're in high school, you're like, man, I can't wait to get to college. I can't wait to get away from my parents. I can't wait to have no rules. But you truly don't realize how much you lean on them until you are away from them.
Right.
And, like, I know there's probably going to be a high school girl out there listening to this right now. And she's going to be like, whatever, I'm ready. I'm ready to get out of the house. But you really aren't. Because whenever you're in college, guess what? No money.
Yes.
No parents. Like, there's no one guiding you along the way to do your schoolwork. So you're just really, it's like, me and Blair kind of labeled this as a semi-adult because you're in between. You're not, like, paying your bills. I mean, you may be paying for some, but, like, you're not completely all off on your own because during the summer, you're still going to go home. But at the same time, your decisions still impact you.
Right.
Like, so that would be a main thing. And then, honestly, in college, Highlands College is a little different because we are super busy. Our schedule is super packed. But still, within all of that, there's so much free time. Yeah. So you really have to steward your free time well and being like, okay, instead of scrolling on Instagram for an hour, I'm going to maybe even go for a walk. It doesn't always have to be schoolwork that you're doing, but just getting up and moving your body so you don't just become addicted to your bed and just want to lay there all day long. You know what I mean?
Yes. No, I definitely said the same thing for my answer. It's just you're in this weird stage of life where you're no longer, like you said, dependent on your parents, which I am, Mom, if you're listening to this. I still am dependent on you, very
Most
dependent.
definitely.
Not claiming all the independence over here. But you are, like, getting a lot more responsibility. You're having to go grocery shopping for yourself. Like Kaleigh said, you're having to keep yourself accountable with other parts of your life, not even just school, but also, like you said too, even in Highlands College, our schedules are so busy, but a lot of that busyness does come when we're not in class, we're not doing all the extra things that come along with it, and we're having to decide, okay, am I going to do my schoolwork right now, or am I going to lay in my bed for an hour because I'm exhausted. So a lot of the busyness isn't even like all of these events that we have. It's I'm busy because I just got done with class and now I have to do 3 hours of homework. So just having those new responsibilities, it can be very consuming at times. And just, again, it's just the weirdest stage of life where you're like, oh, where do I fit in? Am I an adult? No. Am I a teen? No. I'm in college, but I feel like an adult, but I don't feel like an adult, but I feel like a teen, but I don't feel like a teen. Yeah. And it's just this weird, like, transition stage. And it's just crazy.
Definitely. And another thing I wanted to add to that is like I said in the introduction, like you come in, you know nobody. The only person I knew here was my boyfriend. So the first week I stuck to him like glue. And then I found some girls. So I was like, okay, let me talk to them. You know what I mean? But it's just stressful to just come in and try to find a new community. You're used to being at home where you're in your high school. You're all friends because you've been there since freshman year or even have been going since middle school and that kind of thing. So really just finding new people. There's just so many different kind of stressors, especially being a girl too, because we're lucky we go to a Christian school. You know, other people go into maybe a bigger university or something. They have to worry about, oh, are these girls going to be mean to me? Are they going to accept me? Are they going to be rude to me because I don't look like them?
Right.
So
yeah, I definitely agree with that. We do kind of have it a little bit easier on that side because
definitely.
Also another big thing for me, a fear of going to college, was just being a girl in general is hard, especially nowadays. You go to the grocery store, you don't feel safe. The gas station, you don't feel safe. Almost everywhere we go, we don't feel safe. And if I was to go to a college that wasn't this college, I feel like I would feel very unsafe on campus because I would be around a whole bunch of guys that I do not know. But here, our school is so small, and we live like literally, I don't even know how far it would be, but like right over there is all the boys' dorms, and right over here is all of our dorms. And I actually feel so safe with all of them here because I know them, and they're all nice guys, and it's just a lot different.
Yeah.
So we do have it easier on that part. We don't have to stress as much. I mean, obviously, it should still be in the back of our minds.
Definitely.
And we should still be watching out, but it's not as big of an issue here because there's all the security and these good guys here. So that's just great. But kind of moving on to the next question that I had for you was, could you talk about a time where you felt consumed by college?
Yeah. So we've been talking about a lot. Welcome week. For anyone, to preface, this is our orientation week. We're in session after session of orientation. We didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
We had all these people almost pressuring us because they were just kind of putting a fear factor in us of, yeah, you better like do your work. You better do this. You better do this. You better do this. But, yeah, so just really, they're telling us to sign up for stuff. We all got the same iPads. Like, we had to go pick up our iPads and trying to figure out where we're even going because it was the first day and I had lost where my dorm was. I didn't even know where I was going. And that was definitely a very big stressful one. But a different time was whenever, this past week, actually, I was going through a really hard time. There's just a lot of stuff going on at school right now and a lot of work because it's about to be spring break next week. So teachers are just kind of like putting that extra work in there, trying to fit it in before we get out for the break. And there was some financial things going on, and then my grades weren't where they're supposed to be completely transparent with you. Like, they're not where they're supposed to be. So it's like scholarships are up in the air right now and stuff. So that was very, very stressful for me. And it was rough.
Yeah. And I put in my notes the same, like this past week. It has just been a lot. We have, our schedule is very different from normal colleges. So we have some finals coming up for some of our classes, and for other classes we have midterms. So I have exams that we're taking. And then not only like, obviously my podcast is a good burden. You know, I love the burden of having my podcast, but it is a lot. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of planning. And there's a lot that goes into the behind the scenes, hours of stuff. And it can be very stressful on top of all the schoolwork and papers that I have to write. And then on top of that, which this also isn't like a bad burden either. It is such like a blessing from God that I even get to do these things. But I just am always, I'm the type of person that wants to make sure I'm doing things well. So I have a upcoming message. When I'm filming this, I haven't done it yet. But by the time it's released, I would have already done it. I'm going to speak at a college in front of some sorority girls. So that's really exciting, but also very scary for me. And I've had to prepare for that. And my friends have seen the behind the scenes of that. I have been very stressed out about that. Yeah. But, you know, we go through things too. And I never want to make it seem like I put on a pretty face for the podcast and make it seem like I'm not going through stressfulness behind the scenes. So those are some of the things that kind of consume me personally, especially in the past week. But also agree, welcome week was just a mix of all of these emotions. And looking back now, like it never really was that serious. But I think the fear of like, we're here, we're new, my parents just left and I'm scared is like, boom, it makes everything 10 times more dramatic. And we were all like, ah! But looking back, I'm like, girl, breathe.
Yeah, Blair definitely had it a lot harder than me. I had my boyfriend that I could stick to, and so we could navigate it together. But Blair was here all by herself, didn't know a single soul. And so bless her for that, because I don't know how she did it. Thank the Lord that she has an outgoing personality.
It was actually very scary. But I met Shay like the first day here, so that kind of helped a lot. But we're going to move on to the next question. So, yeah. All right. So, the next question that we have is, what did you do in that moment to keep yourself from burning out?
Yeah. The first thing that came to my head was knowing that the Lord called me here.
Yeah.
Whenever I got my calling to Highlands College, it was the Lord gave me an image of this lady wearing a red Highlands College shirt, and it turns out, long story short, it was the lady that interviewed me to be here at Highlands College, and it was so crazy. But just honestly, putting myself back in that moment of knowing this is where I'm supposed to be. This is going to be my home for the next 2 years.
Right.
So that was something that I really heavily relied on, but also just worship. Worship is my way out of things, truthfully. If I'm having a bad day, let me worship.
Right.
If I'm, really stressed out because I don't know what is even happening in my life right now, let me worship, because the Lord is always going to show up and He's going to meet you wherever you are. If you're down on your knees crying, He's going to meet you. If you're rejoicing His name, He's going to meet you. So that's one of the main things that I would say.
Yeah, I would honestly say the same, because in these moments is where you're like, oh, am I even supposed to be here? This is so hard. This is so stressful. It's kind of just reminding yourself of the moment when God made it abundantly clear for you. Like for me, it was when I got the scholarships that I received. I knew in that moment that that was God providing. And I prayed and prayed and prayed about those things. And there was no doubt in my mind that I was supposed to come here a year ago. But now I doubt it when I get stressed out. So not as often. But it's just can be a lot to digest and take in. So really, like you said, just reminding yourself that of the calling to come to college and what that looked like. And also, what I put in my notes is just remember you're doing the best you can. There has been so many times in my classes where I've had to be like, okay, I'm doing the best I can. I might have to sacrifice a little bit on this paper so that I could get a better grade in this class, so that I can pass this class and keep my GPA so that I can keep my scholarships.
Yeah.
So just also reminding yourself that you're doing the best you can. At least you should be. Straight up. You should be. In every circumstance that you're in. So when you're getting stressed out about it and you're wondering, like, what should I do? This is, I'm freaking out. Just remember, number one, you're called, most likely, unless God is telling you to leave.
Yeah.
Then then that's normally pretty clear. But here in this circumstance, reminding myself that I'm called to be here for this season helps me get through those moments. And number two, just remembering that I'm not a superhero. Like, I'm doing the best I can with everything that I have, and I'm putting my best effort in, and that gives me a lot of peace at the end of the day. But I also had some verses that I wanted to share, so I'm gonna have to like read this like this. But it's Romans 5:1-5, and it says, "Therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by faith into this grace in which we now stand, and we boast in the hope of the glory of God." Not only, pay attention here, this is the most important part. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit, who has been given to us. So that's just very encouraging to me. And every time I'm going through a hard season, I think I've even told this to a few of our friends before. Every time I go through something hard and something that I feel like I'm never going to be able to get up from, I try to tell myself, like, this is going to be a testimony someday. Someday I'm going to be telling this story, encouraging somebody else how I got out of this. And this tough season is going to build my character. It's going to build my perseverance. And I'm going to be able to get up at the end of the day and say, look what God did in my life, because I trusted Him. I prayed in those hard seasons. I grabbed a hold of my friends and said, you're going to have to be here for me, because I don't know what to do. So that's just one thing. Another thing I like to remind myself is that my suffering is going to produce perseverance, and that perseverance is going to add to my character.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the hope of that is obviously God, but also being able to share that hope with somebody else just brings a lot of peace in those tough situations.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like that's our one liner in our friend group is this is going to be a testimony one day. Whenever we're all sitting in somebody's room crying, being like, I don't know what to do, like, I'm at my wits, and you're like, this is going to be a testimony one day. You're going to be able to use this one day to help younger girls, or even you're going to be older and they're going to be in college now, and you're going to be able to speak that over them, that this is going to be a testimony one day. Because and also we always say, we're going to look back at 10 years of this and laugh.
Yes.
We really are. Because we're going to say, remember those times? And remember those times we were on the floor crying because we just did not want to do college anymore, and we just want to fast forward and be married and have kids and all the fun things as we think. Yes. But yeah, there's another verse that I wanted to share, but it was in two versions because it was really cool. So it is, oh no, I didn't write down which verse it is, but
it's okay. We'll put it in the caption.
Yeah, we will. But in the NIV version, it says, "Therefore, do not worry, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough troubles of its own." And I always like to look at different translations to kind of see how it differs in any way, and sometimes one can speak to me more than the other. So this one is the Message translation, and it states, "Give your entire attention to what God is doing right now. And don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. God will help you deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes." And that right there, I was writing it down and I was like, wow, I need to listen to this. Yeah. I'm preaching this on a podcast, and I need to listen to this right here. And really just recognizing that the Lord's going to honor whatever you do. Whether you have to maybe sacrifice 100 words, you missed the mark by 100 words on a paper because you were reading your Bible or something, He's going to honor that. Right. And I know whenever it gets super busy that it can be hard to get the Word, like to get in your Bible, open it up. I personally work a part-time job, so I'll be getting home at like 9:30 on the weeknight, 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then getting home, I'm tired, I still have schoolwork to do, I have to take a shower, I have to get ready for the next day, and the last thing on my list is read my Bible, and I'm like, it comes around 11:30, and I'm like, I am so tired, I do not even want to do this. But even if it's just opening up your Bible for 10 minutes, or just listening, worshiping for 10 minutes, praying for 10, whatever it is, it doesn't even have to be 10 minutes, just doing something that honors the Lord, He will honor that in return.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Yes, that's so good. We figured out what the verse was. So I have this. It's Matthew 6:34.
Matthew 6:34, if you cannot understand what she was saying.
Matthew 6:34. I have this little Bible pillow, and this section of verses is literally the theme of my dorm. Yeah, it's the theme of my dorm. But if you're not watching and you're listening, I have this Bible pillow, and I just pulled it out. And when Kaleigh said that she didn't remember that verse, I was like, I know it's in my pillow. So let me just reach up there and get it.
She literally jumped up on the chair, and I was like, well, she did, whatever. She whips out the Holy Bible, and it's like, actually.
Yeah, so if you want one of these, this is, hello?
Fito? Feto?
Yeah, just look up Holy Bible pillow, and it should pop up. Anyways, back to what you were saying. You said you had a few more things.
Yeah, there's just 2 more things that I wanted to hit on. The first one being intentionality. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier about being intentional with your time. Like we said, it's so easy to just lay in bed and scroll on Instagram for an hour, scroll on TikTok, whatever it may be. But really being intentional with your time, because I'm not very good at with my time. I think I can just wait till last minute to do everything out in the world. I'm a D1 procrastinator, as Owen would like to say. And it's true. I'm a procrastinator. I can't even say that word.
Procrastinator.
There we go. But it's because I truly am not intentional with my time. Because I am such a people person. I don't know why I jumped like that. But I am such a people person that I'm just like, let me go downstairs and hang out with everybody and not do my work. Because I just want to talk to people. Because that's so much fun. And then when me and Blair get together, we'll sit here and yap. Because I'm a D1 procrastinator. And I'm also a D1 yapper. Something about me and Blair is we gonna yap. And that's the truth right there.
That is the truth. That's why I have a podcast.
Yeah.
Because my talent is talking. That's my only
Blair
talent.
always says she doesn't have talents, but we just found your talent, Blair.
I can't play sports, I can't dance, I can't sing.
So she can yap.
One thing about me, I can talk.
Yeah, so really just being really intentional with what you do with your time. And because we can just talk away, but I feel like we could get our work done so much faster if we wouldn't just talk for an hour and a half and say, okay, we need to do our work now.
Yes, that is
That's
so
always how it goes.
Okay, the only other question I have is, but I feel like you kind of already answered it a little bit, but what are some practical things that you do to keep from getting overwhelmed? So if you have any more to add to that, I don't know, but
yeah, definitely. For me personally, I like to make a list. I like to pull out a note card, and I've tried to be like Blair and write it on my iPad. It just doesn't work the same for me. I need a pen and a piece of paper. And for my classes, I'll section it off. I take 4 classes right now, so I section it off into 4 classes, and I write down what I have to do under each class. I'm not even kidding. I have 4 calendars and 15 notes of things that I have to do, but then I have a calendar hanging up, and every week I plan out my week. I write down what classes I have that day. I write down if I have work in the afternoon, if whatever it may be that I have. And then also on my iPad I have another calendar, and I write down big assignments that will be due, so that way I can look and see and plan out in advance, because I'm very free-spirited and just like to go with the flow, but also when it comes down to it, I need to write down what's going to happen next. And that's a big thing without being overwhelmed. And also another thing is my friends really help. Whenever I'm in my room in my own thoughts, I just spiral. I'm like, it's the end of the world. I'm done with this. You know what I mean? I can't fight up with this battle anymore. I'm just done. But if I surround myself with friends who are going to build me up and remind me that this is going to be a testimony one day, and that this will pass, and that the Bible verse in the Holy Bible pillow, that we don't need to worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow has its own worries, or however it goes. But yeah, so that's the 2 main things I would say, is just writing things down, and also finding friends that will help bring you up out of the pit. They'll reach down and grab your hand when you're falling to catch you, So.
Yeah. I literally put the same thing. I put plan in all caps with an exclamation mark. 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 I'm a big planner, and like Kaleigh said, I have a calendar on my iPad. I have this calendar back here, and I have a to-do list. And the reason I have so many is because this calendar back here is literally for anything that has nothing to do with assignments. So it just tells me what day I have sports, what day I have workouts, what day we have late night chapel. Actually, I think they moved it, but well, if we have certain events that are different than our normal schedule, I'll put it on there. Or I have an appointment or something, I'll put it on there. That's for that. On my other calendar on my iPad, that is strictly for every assignment that I have, so that I can look for that day and see, oh, that's due on that day. And I like to write it out, make it cute, fun. And then I do a to-do list for the week too, which just has under every single class. I'm taking 5 classes right now. I have all my assignments so that I can see, oh, this is what I have to get done for that class. And then I can look at my calendar and say, oh, well, this is what's due today, so I need to prioritize this. So planning is so important. And if you're like, oh, I'm not a planner, I've never been a planner, become a planner. Because it's literally going to save your life. I would not be able to do this podcast. I would not be able to do all my schoolwork if I did not plan it out. So you need to learn how to have a little bit of self-discipline and tell yourself, no, I need to sit down and plan out my days, because when you plan, God will move in his plan.
Right.
Right. I don't know
but
how to...
for me, like, in my head, more times than not, it's all in my head. Because whenever you're anxious and you're stressed, it's the problem is this big, when really, in reality, that problem's only this big. But your mind is making it so much more than it actually is. So when you write it down, you're saying, oh, this is not actually as much as I thought it was going to be. I was just making it so big in my head because I really didn't even know what I was doing. I just needed to write it down so I can physically see. And that's something that really helped me. But also something else that I wanted to tap back in on, I wanted to share a story about like the importance of community, because sitting by yourself, again, is never good, because you're just going to dwindle in your thoughts, and it can never really leads to good things. So I was at youth camp. It was the summer of 2022. I was at youth camp, and at this time I was not living for God. I just was kind of living my own way, me and all my friends. It was a group of 4 of us. We were just all in for the world. You know, it was our senior year. We thought we were going to have the most fun. Turns out that life was not fulfilling at all, but that's a story for another time. So it was, of course, the last night of church camp. If y'all have ever been to church camp, y'all know everybody's crying. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, like, it's just, you know what I'm saying? Yes. So, I remember sitting, and he told us all to close our eyes and bow our heads. And so I did exactly that. And then he was like, okay, if you want to give your life to Jesus, I need you to come to the front. And then I knew I wasn't going to go by myself. I was not going to go. Of course, now I'm so much more bolder in my faith, but in that moment, I was not going to go. So I waited, and I felt for my friend to move her leg if she was about to get up. And as soon as I felt her move her leg, that's when I shot up. I was like, okay, we're doing this together. And so community is just so important, because if she wasn't there and I didn't get up in that moment, of course, the Lord would find other ways to work in my life, but who knows if that could be 10 years down the road, because I could be going to a completely different college right now and living a completely different life. So community is so important in that, because our friendship, we fell together and we also rose together in Christ Jesus. So.
Yeah, that's so cool. I put community too, and really it's just because you've heard people say it, but show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Yeah,
who you hang out with literally is going to determine who you are. And if you think that you are big enough that your friends are not going to influence you, then you're just wrong. And so the people you surround yourself with really have so much influence on your life. And we're so blessed at Highlands to just be surrounded by such a great community of people, such a great community of mentors. But I just think that if you really want to make sure that you're going through these stressors in the right way and making sure you're planning things out well, get with your friend and say, hey, I haven't been prioritizing this thing. Help me prioritize it. Hold me accountable. Question me. there's so many times where me and Kaylee,
Yep.
I'm like, oh, help me with this, and Kaylee helps me with it, and literally the other day in the hallway, we're not going to talk about that, but she's like, Blair, she does that to me, Blair, that's literally what she does, and she's like, you need to quit complaining, because you said you weren't going to complain as much, and I'm like, Kaylee? And then later on I realized that she's right, but you want friends like that who are going to, what is it, like, go against you and fight you on certain things and aren't just gonna bow down to everything you say.
Definitely.
So it's so important to have friends who just hold you accountable and keep you on the straight and narrow. But I had a verse that I wanted to share real quick about that. It's Proverbs 18:24. It says, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. And I love that verse because if you have unreliable friends, it says it right here, you will come to ruin.
Yep.
But if you find a friend that sticks closer than a brother, then that friend is like family. And Kaylee is like family to me.
That's Blair for me.
But yes, it's just so great having a good and godly community.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all. Well, I'm so glad that we got to have this conversation with my BFF forever, Kaleigh. I'm just so honored to have her on here and that you would do this with me. I love you so much, and you have so much wisdom. You really are my best friend. I love you. But be sure to tune in for our next episode. It's going to be March 18th, and it will be at 12 a.m., you know, so that you can listen to it on your way to school or work or church, or if you want to be up at 12 a.m. and have nothing else to do. Straight up. Listen
I know
to the
I
Straight
will.
Up.
I know I will.
But last thing, just make sure you're following the Straight Up Christian podcast on Instagram at Straight Up Christian. And if you don't know how to spell that, I'll put it in the caption below. But seriously, thank you so much for listening and supporting. I love you so much, and I hope that you have a great rest of your week.